Morning. Thank you so much, Sally, for recording our service this morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the online service for the Unitarian Church of Staten Island. Welcome from the comfort of your homes, from wherever you are, and however you are feeling this morning. Welcome once again into this virtual space. I hope you all find a way to get comfortable in your own body, to rest and relax and enter into this time of community and connection. I'm the Reverend Emily DeTar Birt, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm speaking live from my apartment here in Marble Hill, Manhattan. And I'm grateful to be with all of you this morning. I open this service with words from the Reverend Hope Johnson, which she gave at the 2013 General Assembly. We are one. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, and being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one. There ends the opening words. I will now light our chalice this morning, reading the chalice lighting words that we read every Sunday. We light this chalice in the search for truth and the spirit of love. We unite in worship and fellowship. And as an extension of our chalice lighting, as we have been doing since last May, I want to take a moment of silence to light these candles for some of the names of those who've been recently affected by police brutality. We cannot cover all the names of those affected. We light a candle for the life of Demetrius Stanley, for the life of Ashton Pink, for the life of Andrew Brown Jr. May these lights be a symbol of our commitment to continue the work of racial justice and proclaim everywhere that Black lives matter. I now invite you to sing along with Kevin Clark for our opening hymn, number 295, Sing Out Praises for the Journey. The lyrics will be shared on your screen.
Sing out praises for the journey, pilgrims we who carry on, searchers in the soul's deep yearning, Jesus, find it in each mind and heart. Touch and hold that ancient yearning, kindling for a newfound truth. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Hearth behind us, wayside hostel, built by those who knew wild roads. Lord, we hear their sacred embers carried in our minds and hearts.
All right, everyone. This morning, I have a little bit of a treat before we go into our reading and our sermon. I would like to take you behind the scenes. So, I'm going to show you a video I compiled of what it takes for me as a minister to create a Sunday worship service. Please note that this does not include the work of our Worship Guild associates, and I want to take a moment to mention that whatever work you see in this video is the same work our Worship Guild associates had to do for all of the services that they led. They worked just as hard, compiling orders of service, gathering online slides, creating videos, and more to create the virtual worship services they have. Our Worship Guild members are Ruth Benson, Christine Johnson, Sarah Dolinar, Sarah Rachel Walters, Dave Michaels, Rob and Elle Landsman, and Carolyn Clark. And all of them have worked hard for these services. I also want to shout out to Sally Jones and Mike Stein, our two tech assistants throughout this year. If we did not have them helping run our services, helping admit people, we would not be able to function our virtual services. So know that Mike Stein and Sally Jones deserve the praise for helping us get through this year. With that being said, let's take you behind the scenes this morning. Hello, everyone. I want to take you behind the scenes and show you what it takes to create a virtual worship service. Every week around Tuesday, I send out the order of service to Carolyn and to the Worship Guild associate for that week. And usually I figure out the hymns, the readings, the pieces that are going to be part of the service, and ask them for their input and their suggestions. I also usually meet up with Carolyn to talk about the musical choices, especially the offertory for the service. While I'm finishing writing the sermon, Carolyn is hard at work, creating the music, recording any files, and gathering the choir together to record the music for the service. Usually Kyle is the one behind the camera, making sure everyone in the choir can be seen and recording the beautiful music we share. Later on in the week, I will start working and compiling the order of service into worship slides. Those are the slides that you see that share our hymn lyrics, that share the instructions for the offertory, and other important information. I also help create the prelude slides, the announcements that happen before the service as everyone's gathering into the Zoom room. Now, not every week do we have a video component that needs to be edited, but often we do. Sometimes for the offertory, lyrics need to be added to the video. Sometimes we want to show compiled videos like we're doing for this service. Any video editing that you see happens with me. I usually get videos on Thursday, and I spend some of my office hours going through and matching up lyrics to parts of the video or adding pictures into this video editor to make this experience seamless and beautiful. Good morning. I wanted to introduce you to my office at home, our second bedroom, but also what it takes for me to set up a Sunday service in the morning. This is my setup. So I have this um, kind of collapsible banner stand, and I took the banner that's from our church that goes to General Assembly, so it can be part of our backdrop to make it feel a little bit more like home. I'm really grateful that I got the chalice from our sanctuary to bring with any services that I have. I set up these candles for the Black Lives Matter names that we read. And I've had this shawl since I don't know how long. It's always felt to me like a worshipful piece of fabric to include. I set up my table and have different books and things underneath it to try to give different positions. Every single Sunday that I preach, I go to the flower stand on the corner of the street around 9:30, 10 p.m., 10 a.m., and I get flowers for every Sunday as a way to connect to our flower committee. I'm also grateful for this peace lily here that I hopefully am not destroying. I keep care of, though it has a little bit of rough shape. This was given to me from our board when I received full fellowship, and it's been in my videos ever since February. Of course, ever since last year, as you can see, I have this wonderful rainbow background that my wife actually put up for me, and this Black Lives Matter sign that I've hung since last May as a way to make sure that our messages of inclusion and justice are part of every service. So to put final touches on, in order for the sound to come through well and in order to see my face, I have this, not really ring light, but desk lamp that I use, that I adjust the lights for every Sunday. I have this microphone, the Shure microphone that only my wife lets me borrow with care and with consideration. I'm very grateful that my wife has the technology and audio suave that I don't to set up this entire system and this media table that we both borrow for different kinds of services, but it helps with the sound to come through. I also have this second screen that I've created to display the slides for every service. If you've ever noticed me on camera looking up, it's because I'm looking to these slides. Having a second screen means you don't see any of the kinds of URLs or boxes or anything that gets in the way. I get to just go through the church slides as they are. So yeah, I spend between going to buy the flowers, between setting up the table and turning on the light, I spend about an hour every Sunday morning setting this entire thing up, just so that I can get the right backdrop for the Zoom screen and get everything going. That's not including the about 20 to 40 minutes it takes to go through our tech rehearsal with our lovely tech assistants like Sally Jones, with Carolyn Clark, our music director, and with our worship guild, going through all the aspects of the service, making sure everyone's mic is working, making sure the flow is correct. And it gives me joy that at the end of all of this work comes a beautiful product of our Sunday virtual service. We're not finished. It also takes all of you. It takes all of you joining from home to see our worship that we've compiled for you together. Thank you for joining us, for making our Sunday worship something special. Thank you all so much for taking a look behind the scenes this morning with us as we think about our Sunday services. One moment. Hello, everyone. Okay. So this morning, let us go into our reading and our sermon. Our reading comes up by a poem called Ithaca from Constantine P. Caffery. When you set out on your journey to Ithaca, pray that the road is long, full of adventure, full of knowledge. The Lestrygonians and the Cyclops, the angry Poseidon, do not fear them. You will never find such as these on your path if your thoughts remain lofty, if a fine emotion touches your spirit and your body. The Lestrygonians and the Cyclops, the fierce Poseidon you will never encounter. if you do not carry them within your soul, if your soul does not set them up before you. Pray that the road is long, that the summer mornings are many, when with such pleasure, with such joy, you will enter ports seen for the first time. Stop at Phoenician markets and purchase fine merchandise. Mother of pearl and coral, amber and amity, and sensual perfumes of all kinds, as many sensual perfumes as you can. Visit many Egyptian cities to learn and learn from scholars. Always keep Ithaca in your mind. To arrive there is your ultimate goal, but do not hurry the voyage at all. It is better to let it last for many years, to anchor at the island when you are old, rich with all you have gained on the way, not expecting that Ithaca will offer you riches. Ithaca has given you the beautiful voyage. Without her, you would have never set out on the road. There is nothing more to give you. And if you find her poor, Ithaca has not deceived you, wise as you have become with so much experience. You must already have understood what Ithaca means. There ends our reading for this service. Odysseus never meant to take so long. For him, he was helping out in the war for a few years. It was supposed to be quick. He was sure he would get home. He was never expecting the angry Poseidon to make his journey last 10 years. Life has thrown out completely of control. He was crashing against the waves of the sea, thrown by circumstance, and a long adventure began. Because who predicts the acts of a god? Adventures in heroic tales seem exciting, but sometimes they miss the myrrh that happens in the beginning. Odysseus was heartbroken to be so long away from his family, from his wife, or his life. He was ever expecting to come home. And yet, for all of this hardship, for his struggle for survival, if it wasn't for the many years, the many lessons, the many experiences, we would never have the Odyssey. We would never have the adventure of life if not for the completely unpredictable, for the moments, whether tragic or joyful, of being completely in the unknown. I think you can see where I'm going with this story. None of us could have ever prepared for what has happened over this past year. It has completely changed everything we know about life, about the economy, about our schooling, about transportation, about our daily living practices. It has been heartbreaking and hard. And with all of that, there have also been moments of joy, moments of adventure, of new experiences that have transformed our hearts and opened our vision. This past year, I've witnessed those moments with all of you. I'm fairly certain by now that you must be pretty sick and tired of me preaching about the pandemic. And I need to tell you that I'm sick and tired of it too. I'm hoping this is the last sermon I will ever have to preach about the pandemic. I'm hoping that that's the case. And yet, for as tired as I am of preaching about this, I think in this moment, it is important to take stock. Because if we look back together, what we have done together as a community is nothing short of a miracle. Here are some things we have done and some things I have learned with all of you. Some lessons have simply been reaffirmed. Our community is known for showing up, not just for each other, but for our community. And we did. Communities like ours, we delivered food. We helped take each other to hospitals. We made masks for local hospitals and for local nurses. We got out the vote. Members, friends, stood in marches, went to vigils, went to numerous online justice events. In a time when everyone was staying home and could have easily forgotten about the demands of community life or of our neighborhood, you showed up. Whatever comes next, may we remember the need to show up for one another. What I have learned this past year is that connecting across distance actually is not as hard as sometimes it may seem, and that small gestures count. I have sorely missed coffee hour. I've missed going from table to table and listening to conversations and connecting with you in the same place. And yet, in some ways this year, I feel so connected with you. I have called more often. In fact, I've nearly called our entire membership list 4 times. I'm on the 4th cycle, which I hopefully will end sometime by the end of June. Together, we wrote more cards, we sent more emails, we gave each other gifts. There's so many little gestures of care that came my way from all of you and that came for each other. And I witnessed members that we haven't seen in years connecting to us from Seattle, from Texas, from Florida, from Michigan, even people from Sweden. It's amazing how connected we can be, and that you were here the whole time. This year, we have seen just what the value of community is far beyond any one set of walls. We are a people who do not agree, and yet we choose to connect with each other. We choose to open our computers anyway, to open our wallets, to open our homes to each other. And there is something so beautiful and tender about this very human response to be together on the journey. And that, for me, is a lesson. That spiritual practice, that spiritual community, that being together, to worship together, it is not a luxury or an optional practice. It is one that keeps us alive. My faith has been challenged this year more than ever before. The heartbreak, the cynicism, the moments of anxiety and isolation were numerous, or even just the stress of living. On the seas of this year, we may not have had an angry Poseidon, but the human forces of greed, of evil, and ego, of political upheaval were present, along with so much grief. And this is why having a space to worship, to reflect with others, to ground our spirits and our hearts in the presence of others, to be honest about our struggles and revel in our joys is so necessary, is a healing salve. As Unitarian Universalists, we have different beliefs about the mysteries of life, about the nature of what is divine, about the purpose and human nature. We come together to help each other craft our own beliefs, to wrestle with life's big questions, and to live into those questions and our most precious values with courage and heart. The bigger picture isn't always put into focus, but this year, it certainly was. This year, everyone confronted with the global nature of both our mortality and our humanity. This year, everyone had to confront the questions of life and living, to decide what values they really put stake in. This year, if anything, reminded me that faith and spirituality, they're not optional. They are inevitable. And if left unexamined, faith either becomes the wake-up call you have on your deathbed, or the devastating force that can cause others harm. This year, we've witnessed people's faith on a large scale, whether political leaders put faith in their own ego, or people rushing to put faith in the economy, or people losing faith in our systems, or others living faith by marching in the streets for justice. Faith has been everywhere, and everyone has had to come to terms with it, with what it means to be human where you are right now, and what it means to be alive. Everyone will ultimately decide what they put their faith in. But no one has to do it alone. This year, this community proved what it's like to journey together. Whether virtually, over the phone, across the country, no matter the physical distance, we kept on choosing to show up for each other. We proved to each other that we can grow, that we can adapt to anything by being together. And at least for myself, when I look back, my faith is more strong, more full, more examined, in clearer focus and in better service because I journeyed with you. Because I was one of the lucky ones that had a spiritual community. A place to challenge me, to help me grow, to question my moments of cynicism, sometimes quite literally, to ground my words of idealism, to remind me of my own hubris and humanity. When looking back on the journey we've taken together, I am so profoundly humbled and grateful to you for my Unitarian Universalist faith and for a community like this one that can weather through it all together. Next Sunday is the last Sunday of the typical church year. Over the summer, we'll have our summer forums, and also we'll be making plans for what it's like to reopen the church in September, as long as all things go according to CDC guidelines. We know it's been a long journey to get us here, but we got here together, and our home is waiting for us, as always has been. And also, we've created home here in this virtual space, a home for our hearts, a space for refuge and nourishing, almost like the boat that carried Odysseus. It's carried with us through the many twists and turns of this year. It will help us continue the journey. I feel so grateful for the journey we've had together, for the space we've created. Thank you. Thank you for showing up, for continuing to ask the big questions, for being exactly who you are, because your active presence is what keeps the ship sailing and what helps us to heal each other and build a better world. May it be so. So with all that said, I would like to invite you to look back with me in this video I've created for all of you. Please note that I can't include every single member in this video. I wish I could, or every event, but know you're there in spirit. And some of the pixels may be a little rough at times. Photos come in different resolutions, but please enjoy this beautiful journey we've had together.
With soul and spirit, and build a eagle tower rising skyward, across the wood on vessels gold. Under the church with human frailty, under the church of flesh and blood, how faithful be its sure foundation, it shall be built in the strength of love. Under the church with soul and spirit, under the church of flesh and bone, maybe the tower rising skyward, a house of wood or glass or stone. Under the church with human frailty, under the church with flesh and blood, how faithful be its sure foundation, it shall be built with the strength of love. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. Oh, one of these days. I'm gonna feast on milk and honey. Yeah, I'm gonna feast on milk and honey one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna feast on milk and honey. Gonna feast on milk and honey one of these days. Oh, one of these days. I'm gonna tell God how you treat me. Yes, I'm gonna tell God how you treat me one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna tell God how you treat me. Gonna tell God how you treat me one of these days. One of these days. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, one of these days. All God's children gonna sit together. Oh yes, all God's children gonna sit together one of these days. Hallelujah. All God's children gonna sit together. We're all gonna sit together one of these days. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. Yeah, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. One of these days. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. One of these days.
Thank you, everyone. Now is a time in our service for our offertory. We know it is the many gifts of this congregation that has made this journey quite literally possible. And we know that it's the many gifts, the resources, your participation, your talent, your finances that help us as we plan for another year together. Thank you so much for anything you can give to us. Now I'd like to introduce the beautiful offertory that has been made by the choir called Journey On. Thank you. And now we invite you to sing along with Kevin and Carolyn Clark, our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home. The lyrics will be put on your screen.
Low below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry hand heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor nor port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
I invite you, if you know the words, to join me in extinguishing our chalice this morning. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. For we carry these in our hearts until we are together again. I will stick with the benediction by Wayne Arneson that I've shared many times this year, including the first service. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. May it be so, and amen.